Good afternoon and welcome to this special broadcast. You with Cine News 18, and we're getting you this special coverage on what happened in Mumbai, a horror that unfolded. And the most surprising and shocking part was that this happened in the city of Mumbai, which is considered to be relatively a safer city for women. My colleague Herman Gomes is with us on the broadcast. He's been tracking the entire story, what happened to that woman, what the police did, what is the statement that came from the chief minister. Herman, can you simplify for us when exactly did the incident happen? What was the follow up like? Was the police proactive in coming forward and registering a case, or were there any kind of delays?
Well, Anusha, yes. In fact, good afternoon. It was in fact 3 days ago when the Mumbai Police Control Room received a call stating that a woman was being brutally assaulted in an open tempo. And within 10 minutes is what the Mumbai Police Commissioner claims that their team reached on the spot. And once they reached the spot, they realized that she was lying there unconscious. She was badly beaten up. Post that she was taken to the hospital. So much so that a surgery had to also be conducted, and only during that time they did realize that something to the extent of a private rod was inserted, an iron rod was inserted into her private parts. That is the sort of extent of the brutality in this particular case. Post that, even after the surgery was conducted, after 33 hours of struggling in the hospital, she did pass away. While the police was heavily relying on the CCTVs, that is why you had the main accused, who's a native of Uttar Pradesh, from Jaunpur, who was arrested in this particular case. Realizing the seriousness is what the Mumbai police claims, is that you also had the chief minister stating that the case will be handed over to a fast track court. He had also yesterday instructed during a meeting with the police officials, stating that the charge sheet needs to be filed within a period of 30 days, that is a month. Besides that, NSIT is also probing the case, but a very unfortunate case that taking place, Anusha, as you're rightly pointing out, in the maximum city. But even as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned, we also did hear of an incident that took place yesterday in Amravati, where a 17-year-old rape victim decided to commit suicide because she was also 7 months pregnant. So it's not just
Yeah.
overall just this maximum city, but even as far as the state of Maharashtra is concerned. Clearly, is it as far as the women rights lawyers are concerned, the activists are concerned, they say that there is an overhaul that is needed within the Mumbai police. And as far as what they have been alleging, that the Mumbai police did not act fast, the Mumbai police on its part claims that within 10 minutes they reached on the spot, and it is the police themselves who decided to take her to the Rajawadi hospital.
Harman, what exactly was this place where this horrific crime really happened? What time of the day it was? I'm asking you all of these questions because, Mumbai police especially is known for looking around the entire city. Usually it's a
Yeah.
crowded city. And to have an incident like this really shocks the consciousness of a lot of people who would look at the city with a certain perspective. One more point, that one accused has been arrested. What is the apprehension? Are there other people also involved in this case? Could more accused be arrested?
Well, Anusha, as far as more accused of being part of the crime is concerned, that is something that the Mumbai police is looking at. They are trying to find out whether or not there were people who may have, helped him in committing this particular crime. About the location where it has happened, it's a suburban area. It was an open tempo, as I was saying. It was not a lonely road. When they realized that a woman was being beaten up, it was an open tempo at the back of them, was where this horrific crime was taking place. That is the point when people realized that there was a woman screaming, that they decided to alert the nearest the beach jockey, which you call, and that is when within a period of 10 minutes they reached the spot. But by then it seemed to be too late, because she was already lying there unconscious. There was there was blood spots all over the tempo, a horrific crime. And only when they realized that they took her to the hospital, they realized the seriousness of and the brutality of the case, if one may say so, which is why she urgently had to go a surgery. Besides that, they realized there were serious injuries to her private parts, and that is only when you had this particular case, that 33 hours after that, that the victim still did not survive, despite the fact. Now, as far as the profile of the victim is concerned, she survived. She has two young daughters. For quite some time, her mother, that is the grandmother of these two young children, they were being taken care of. Her husband had left her some years ago, which is why she was also in a state of mental distress, is what we are picking up at this point in time. So much so, she, in fact, just before hours, she was not living with her mother as well as her daughters. She had decided, because of a family fight, she decided to move out. But just unfortunately, before this act could be committed, she did visit her daughters as well as her mother for a brief time of around 5 to 10 minutes, and then she decided to leave from there. And after that, you had this horrific crime that was committed.
Yeah. Harman, for rape victims to fight a case like this, and especially you're talking about the fact that there is a grandmother survived by two young daughters, for them it will be
True.
very difficult to pursue this case forward. The Chief Minister says that special public prosecutors have also been appointed in this case. What sort of a financial background she came from? Because that becomes
Yeah.
important in terms of figuring
Yeah.
out whether she'd be able to fight the case or not, or any kind of financial assistance that the state government is ready to give.
Well, a very important question I think you've asked there, Anusha. In fact, I'll tell you that she does not come from a well-to-do family. They were living in a slum, and unfortunately, around sometime months ago, because it was an illegal slum, at least that is what we are picking up at this point. The slum had decided to be razed down by the local authorities. They even had to pay a sum of around 2,000 rupees living on rent. The grandmother, as I said, is someone who was a vegetable vendor, and that is the only source of income she had. Once her husband decided to leave her some years ago, around 8 to 9 years ago, there was no family source of income coming in, and she was heavily relying, the victim that is in this case, only on her mother, as far as her two children were concerned. And due to a fight, due to some time back, she decided to move out of the house. She was living on the road. She was a destitute for some time. It was the grandmother who was caring for these particular young children, and the only source of income was by selling. And she's an aged mother, she's a grandmother. She was someone who was caring for them. 2,000 was the rent amount that they had to pay, and the only way they could earn money was by selling vegetables. But for quite some time, as far as the victim is concerned, she was not living with her mother due to a family discord.
All right, so she was not living with her mother. They don't come from the well-to-do background. I mean, if you were to analyze it, covering various things across the city and various instances, unfortunately, that we have witnessed in our careers as journalists, would you say that this was handled politically sensitively? That the chief minister or the party which is in power right now was receptive? Because a lot of times politicians have a history of making bizarre statements.
Yeah. And I think this time the bizarre statement, Anusha, has come in from the Mumbai police commissioner, who yesterday during a press conference actually said that, but to put it into context, what he said exactly was that the Mumbai police cannot be at every place at every time. But within a period of 10 minutes, within a time frame of 10 minutes, they decide to reach the spot. It was the police themselves who took the woman to the hospital. Now, in this particular case, yes, if one looks at it politically, one has seen the swiftness with which the chief minister has worked. Yesterday itself, late last night, he had a meeting with the police officials. He said that you need to file the charge sheet within a period of 30 days. Besides that, the decision was also taken in via a statement that was issued by his office, stating that this will be handed over to a fast track court. Yes, the chief minister as well as other ministers are quite aware of the financial background, because that too plays a large role as far as the case is concerned. Uh, and we've seen the sort of, because she already had a lot of family disputes. She was also not in the best of her mental health. That too in a way could play a big role, as you would know. But in this particular case, we've seen how the chief minister has, also the police officials also decided, and very rarely have we seen the current Mumbai police commissioner ever taking a press conference. This was probably one of the first times that we have even seen the police commissioner, and he said that we have formed an SIT. There is an ACP rank officer who's going to look into the case. But are there more people involved? Because this has happened in an open place. Were people ignoring it from the time it started to happen? Were there people who tried to help him? That is the sort of the investigation bit that the Mumbai police is currently looking at.
Any kind of compensation that has been given to them, Herman? Anything known about that so far?
No, nothing at this point in time, at least, Anusha. But what the chief minister has categorically said, that any sort of help that will be required by the family will be looked into it. But if there is any sort of monetary compensation that has been handed over, at least at this point, it has not been announced so far. But politically, it has already become an issue. The political overtones have already come in, because you have the BJP today that was protesting, saying that it's not that Mumbai currently is not a safe place. Why is it that the Thackeray-led government is not ensuring safety for women in the state? So politically, it has already seen those sort of protests that are taking place today. And what I'm also told, and probably in the next 1 or 2 days, these sort of protests could further intensify, not just in Mumbai, but across the state of Maharashtra.
So that's the political aspect of it that Herman is talking about. And Herman, just to highlight to our viewers that trials in this country are a very slow process. Any rape trial, even at the trial court level, takes about 4 to 5 years to wrap up. For a viscera sample to be really examined, it
Yeah,
could take about 6 months for that viscera sample to confirm rape. In this case, of course, murder charges will also be put because the victim died due to her injuries.
right.
You also spoke about some other instances from the state of Maharashtra which have been reported recently. Very briefly, a word on them, Harman.
Well, yes. As far as this, I think the case that you're referring to is a case that took place in Amravati. Now, the victim
Yes.
there was a 17-year-old, so it's a POXO case that has been filed against the alleged accused. The accused has
Hmm.
been arrested. Unfortunately, what we do get to know is that she was also 7 months pregnant. Now, at some point, she felt that her family could be humiliated, they could face ridicule from society, and which is why she took the drastic step of committing suicide. By hanging herself. That is another case that has come in from Amravati. Now, each and every case when one is looking at it, that too, the victim, what you're told, did not come from a very well-to-do background. But in any
Hmm.
case, if one looks at it, it is the victim that has suffered, and unfortunately, who had to lose her life. But what we are
Hmm.
looking at is currently this particular case, as far as Amravati is concerned, and there too, the victim unfortunately losing her life by committing suicide. Anisha.
My last question to you, Harman, coming back to the
Yeah.
Mumbai case, a special SIT you said is going to be formed in this case, and it's going to be a female officer who's going to lead the case. Just briefly tell us about that.
Well, yes, there is a SIT that has been formed in this particular case. It is an ACP rank officer who's a woman who's been, in fact, been leading this case. Right now, they are going to try and look for all around the CCTVs around the area to try and check whether the main accused may have committed such, acts in the past or not. Besides that, they
Yeah.
also want to try and find out in case if there were people who may have either watched and decided to walk by, or there were some people who helped the accused, that is the main accused, in some case or the other. As you are also mentioning, I forgot to mention the point, Anusha, is
Hmm.
that the murder charges have also been applied
Hmm.
against the main accused in this particular case. And currently, I think this is a case that I think the opposition is also not going to lose as far as possible. They are going to pay a very close watch to it as far as it is concerned. And every development
Hmm.
is going to be crucial, because yesterday we saw the sort of controversial statement also coming in from the Mumbai police chief, which today was condemned by the NCW, so much so that an NCW member also flew down to Mumbai and is currently here. She's expected to even meet the DGP either today or tomorrow, is what we are being told at this point in time, Anusha.
All right, Harman, thank you so much for getting us that sense from the ground. And as my colleague is reporting, the victims come from underprivileged background, even in the case of Mumbai, and hence it's important that the state government gives them all kind of support. Yes, politics around this issue will continue to go on, but here's hoping that there is a speedy justice and trial in this entire case. Thank you, Harman, for getting us all the details.
You're welcome.